Mark?
Okay, so, well, as part of the sequester, but as maybe more of a political maneuver, the administration decided to release detainees.
Wait a minute, you're talking about those illegal detainees that are felons or whatever level of crime that are being held by the Department of Homeland Security, aren't they? Isn't that who you're talking
Department
about?
of Homeland Security released about 5,000 detainees claiming, well, we may have some budget cuts in the future. And so if there were such budget cuts, we probably should release them now in case we wouldn't have room to put them
Wait a minute,
there
time out, Mark.
later.
Wait a minute, there's a lot of maybes in all of that. So what you're saying is, as a result of the
And we
sequester,
probably have to release another 3,000 because if maybe there's a cut and we don't have enough room sometime, we may not have room then, so now we should let them go.
So what's happening is you're saying Janet Napolitano, who is the head of Department of Homeland Security, is stating that we might get a cut because of sequester.
And that might affect
and that
our ability.
might affect the ability
You
to
have to hold
these 5,000 or more. But my understanding of the holding versus release, that it actually costs more to monitor those criminal illegal aliens that are released than it actually costs to keep them incarcerated. How do they justify that? I don't understand.
Well, they may have just let them go with no monitoring. Who knows?
Okay, they let them go with no
basically
monitoring.
an
What are you
amnesty.
saying? It's like another amnesty.
It may just be an amnesty.
Is this another DREAM Act for criminals?
Yeah, it may be a DREAM Act. But yeah, what it was is an executive fiat, right? And, you know, they're saying that, you know, they have a certain interest in, you know, this group is...
Wait a minute, who has a certain interest? In which group?
The people who believe in social justice want
justice.
people who vote, you know, the right way, and people who vote the right way don't believe there should be open borders.
Wait a minute, I have a question. Are you trying to tell me the illegal aliens that are felons or other criminal illegal aliens are actually being released and then they're given the right to vote? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, what I'm saying is, actually, American citizens, from these folks' viewpoint, this is Azatlan, and the Americans are actually illegal aliens.
Wait a minute. Azatlan, just for the viewers that don't understand that, is a belief in a strong belief out of Mexico and in California, held by people with cultural backgrounds from Mexico, saying that California, Arizona, and Nevada actually belong to Texas belonged actually to Mexico.
Oh yeah,
and then as a result, they believe Azatlan is another empire that they want back.
Well, basically the same way that Palestinians believe that they live in occupied territory. People in Azatlan, or the United States, occupy this territory through terrorism, discrimination, exploitation, you know, all that.
Remember the Alamo.
Yeah, all that.
All that.
So anyway, so that's basically, you know, so basically they're not really letting illegal detainees go. They're just like letting people go who ought to go.
Well, wait a minute. See, my understanding is it's one thing to be able to receive amnesty because you're an honest citizen, you're working hard, and you came across the border, and you're just somebody that's an undocumented traveler. But what about the people that are committing felonies? Severe felonies are being held by Department of Homeland Security, and those people are being released. Nobody wants those people released.
I think that they argue that these were low-level offenders.
Low-level offenders. Yeah, yeah. Well, I understand Arizona is the main drop ground for these people, and in Arizona, they've done an analysis of the people being released. And first of all, it's very difficult to find out the crime level of the people being released, but they were able to find out. And they found that the majority of the people being released under this Department of Homeland Security order by Janet Napolitano, who claimed she didn't know anything, were actually serious felons, and that's why they were still being held as opposed to being released and expected to come back to court. So I'm a little concerned about, I don't see those same people being released in Chicago, where you know, some of the administration originates. And I don't see those people being released in San Francisco, where other people, and I don't see them being released in Las Vegas, where Harry Reid comes from. So why are they being released in Arizona? What's the theory on that?
Well, it's probably the weather is better there.
Oh, it's weather.
And they can, you know, it's easier for them to take care of themselves once they get up.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
Probably has nothing to do with.
It's a nicer climate.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with Governor.
Oh, it does. Oh, it has nothing to do with any of the politics. It's just, but if they want them to vote, wouldn't it make more sense to...
Who's the governor there?
Where?
In Arizona?
Jan Brewer.
Oh, yeah, Jan. It's got nothing to do with Jan
Brewer. Yeah, it had nothing to do with Jan Brewer, who actually yelled at the president on the news. Yeah, I don't think it would have anything to do with
this might be considered from a constitutional issue. This might be considered overreach or an executive fiat. A lot like the National Labor Relations Board thing we talked about last time. A lot like Fast and Furious, kind of executive overreach.
I mean, and like Benghazi we talked about as well.
Yeah, kind of selective enforcement. So this, from a constitutional issue, the executive branch is kind of doing things by fiat. They've got some excuses, but they seem rather transparent. Now, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, maybe, like I said, maybe these detainees ought to be released. I don't know. But legally, they're not supposed to be unless they go through a process.
My understanding of
the
federal courts here in San Jose, I know the federal courts, and I watch the various criminals that come through while I'm attending the federal courts for one reason or another. But I do see those people are held, even for misdemeanors. So I'm not clear why allegedly felons are being released by Janet Napolitano. My belief was that there was marching orders put through from the very top to each of the department heads to say, make pain obvious so the citizens can see what sequester was or is. And I think Janet Napolitano, who's a loyal marching soldier for the administration, believed that it was her duty to let's release 5,000, 10,000 criminal illegals, and we don't know which country they're from, but we're going to release these people because there's going to be a shock value to the news. Do you think that had anything to do with it?
I guess that's possible, but it also might be that they think that these people ought to be released anyway.
Maybe they should be part of the DREAM Act. Are they all under 30?
Yeah, maybe maybe they should be part of an open border.
Were they all brought here against their will?
I don't know.
We don't know the stats on that, do we?
So the intention but obviously the intention is they want to release these folks, and this is a artifact or an excuse they can use to do it.
Well, I have a question. How are they monitoring them to make sure they're not out committing more crime?
I'm not sure there's any monitoring at all.
Well, is that because there's this question now you can't even monitor the people you're releasing that are potentially felons with criminal illegal aliens? I'm not clear how that works hand in hand.
Well, it might be hard to monitor them if you don't, you're not sure who they are or what their paperwork is or, that kind of thing.
But if sequester it has such severe cuts and the Department of Homeland Security was actually receiving those cuts, why would it be cheaper for them to release when it's cheaper for them to keep in incarceration?
Well, not if they just let them run loose. If they cut them loose, they cut them loose.
All right, on that happy note.
That is the local sheriff has to handle.
All right, well, on that happy note of letting them loose because they need to run free. Born free, run free.